Good evening, everyone. Welcome to my channel once again. My name is Onyinye Ude. This is a cooking channel. I cook and I guide people on how to make meals that they already know. Maybe they don't know how to cook it, or cook some meals that they've never seen before. But on today's video, I'm not going to be making any meal. I'm not going to be cooking. I'm going to address some of the issues, problems we face in our kitchen. It may be something that you've heard before, but I'm going to do this. These ones are what I learned from my own mistakes. I learned it. I was alert. I was watchful, so I learned from it. And so I titled my message today, "What am I doing wrong?" What am I doing wrong? I know once in your life you've asked yourself that kind of question. Some problem that you face in the kitchen. Let me start from your dough. You want to make meat pie, and when you are kneading your dough, you find out that it's becoming too tough to knead and spread, that you ended up trashing that dough, and you ask yourself, what did I do wrong? Here I'm right here to answer such questions. And see, when you handle a dough too much, when you knead it too much, the baking powder in it will start acting more than it's supposed to do. And what it does is that it makes the dough strong, and it's like a stretchy and rubbery, that is hard for you to spread it or even knead it. If you're making something like meat pie, as I said. So it gets tough. The more you knead it, the more you roll it, the more it gets tough. So what you do is, after the first kneading of your dough, after handling it, the first handling, what you do is just to leave it and let it rest. You can put it in the fridge to rest for about 10 minutes. Then you can bring it out and start your proper meat pie baking. So that is what happens. Handling it too much makes it tough. It becomes tough and rubbery, and that's what happened. And again, have you baked meat pie, and in the process you notice that the dough is like flat after baking? It did not rise. It's just like a melting polythene bag, and most of the time it perforates, that you'll be seeing the meat inside. Have you had such problem? And so this is what happens. The thing is that when you, after mixing up everything, daddy coco, daddy daddy, papa, how are you? Good. So this is what happens when you after. So as I was saying, after measuring everything in the right proportion, you add your water and you knead your dough. What you do is to wrap it in a polythene bag and put it aside, put it in the fridge, and allow it to rest. Allow the baking powder to activate and start working. If not, if you decide to spread it and cut your meat pie or whatever you are doing with the dough, what it does is that it will not rise. So when you put your meat filling in the meat pie, And when you bake it, and even before you bake it, you will notice that it's like melting away, like something that is a polythene bag that you spread over the fire. So it's like it is melting away and it's perforating. It's not strong enough. It's not shiny like a beautiful dough should be. So when you bake it, it's going to end up flat. It's going to end up flat because the baking powder has not activated. So that's what happens if you ever asked yourself this question: why did my meat pie, the dough flat? Why is it flat? Why is it perforated? This is what happened. You did not allow that dough to rest. When you allow it to rest, the baking powder will activate, and when you are kneading it, you will have the right dough, and it will rise, and it will look like a proper meat pie. That one answered. I know you might have heard it before, but I'm telling you from my own experience, and I'm telling you it's from the mistake that I have made. I've made such mistake. I've made doughs and it came out flat, and I didn't know. I just discovered it recently. This is what happened because I was watchful. So another thing is this: have you ever cooked, and after cooking, your vegetable is so green, is so fresh, your okra is so fresh, and later on everything changed color? It happens often. It has happened to me. I know people know about it, but this video is for people that do not know about it. People that are wondering, what am I doing wrong? So what you do is, after cooking, you don't leave the pot, the food, in that same hot stove. You have to transfer it. You have to transfer it. Get it out of the hot stove and put it in a cold one. Another thing is this: don't leave it there, because it will continue cooking. Even your meat, it will continue cooking. So what you do is that you have to get it out, get your bowl, get the food out of that pot. Yes, get the food out of that pot and put it aside. Don't cover it properly, leave half covered. So let it cool down. Let it get cold. Let it get cold before you can now put it in your fridge or freezer. So to avoid the food changing color, and you want it to retain that freshness, that is what happens with your food. As soon as you are done cooking, transfer it into a bowl and let it cool down. Don't put it in your freezer or fridge yet, or else it will cause another problem. Yes, it can cause another problem, because if you put a hot food in the fridge, it will reduce the fridge or the freezer. It will reduce the temperature, and it will affect the other food in the fridge. You can start seeing some of them sour and spoiled. Like if you have fresh milk, it will affect it. If you have other food items there, it will also affect it. The reason is because, so as I was saying, if you put anything hot in the fridge, in your freezer, it will affect the temperature. It will reduce it, and it will go ahead to affect the food in the fridge and get them spoiled. So that is what happens most of the time. So what you do is, after cooking and you want to put that food in the fridge, you allow it to be cold. It has to be cold. Then you can then put it in your freezer or fridge. And again, have you wondered, sometimes you see your fridge that is leaking and you've tried to figure out what the problem is. It may not actually be a serious issue, because it has happened to me. I have a Frigidaire, so most of the time we will notice that it's leaking, especially the freezer is leaking water, and we were wondering what happened. And even we called a technician, and he came, and do you know what he discovered? He discovered that it's not properly closed. Something is hindering it, and we don't know where the magnet came from. We don't know where it came from, but it was stopping it from closing properly. So as soon as he removed it and shut it very well, it started working properly and making ice block. So another thing, and not long after that one, it started leaking again, and we were wondering what was it, what is happening. It was difficult to figure it out, but we later did, and what we discovered is that it's not a technical problem. It's ice block, built up ice block, that is preventing it from closing tightly. That's a built up, and this happens most often. As soon as the ice block builds up in the freezer, it will stop it from closing tightly. And the thing is that the problem is that it will start leaking water. The water will start coming out of the freezer, and it's something that can hurt somebody, because if the place is slippery, like a marble, or somebody can slip and fall. So what you do is check your freezer often and see whether you have anytime you start seeing such thing, check your freezer often and see whether it's properly shut, properly closed, and also check and see if it has a built-up ice block, and remove it. And when you are sure that it is not working anymore, then you can go ahead and call your technician. But most of the time, it's not something that that you have to call a technician. It's just simple that it's not properly closed, it's not properly shut. So that is it. Another thing I learned is that sometimes we want to use sugar to cook some of our food, like beans. Yeah, we like to add some people, they like to add sugar to their food. Some culture, they like to add sugar to their food, brown sugar in their beans or other food recipes or items. Yeah, it is good, but I've also discovered from my own culture, where I come from, that you can use a very ripe plantain as a substitute for that sugar. Something like beans, instead of adding raw sugar, you can cut that ripe plantain, cut it in bits, in cubes, then use it instead of sugar, and I'm assuring you that the result is what you will like, and it will serve even a better purpose for that dish, because you'll be eating the plantain, you'll be tasting it, you'll be eating it, and the sugar is just natural from a plantain. So that is it. That is about that. So another thing is this. I also discovered in my preparing goat head. Some people, it's not some people, often what we use or what we grow up, some people grow up eating is with potash account. You add account to make that thick sauce and soapy appearance, yellow appearance. You use account, but recently, health-wise, people are consuming account that is not good for our health. Eating is not good for our health. So in order to avoid that eating account, there's another way that I found it out from my own mistake. So I've done this from my culture, where I I came from, we don't use account to do it, but when you go to restaurants, they use account. So we have this special oil in my town. It's called manoncha. It's already prepared. It's for abacha. So from my town, we are known for abacha, for preparing abacha. We have a special oil for that, manoncha. So you don't use it for any other cooking except that abacha. So that is what they use for that isiewu. So when they prepare it, you get that account or whatever feeling or appearance. So but when I came here, I prepared the isiewu, and luckily for me, it's not that I planned it. Luckily for me, it turned out to be like the one with account. It has this sauce, and it tastes so good, and the color is very nice. So I was like, what happened? I didn't know. I didn't know at that time. So another day, I prepared the isiewu again. What I used to do is that I add some of the broth from the isiewu. I add it. That is why I make my sauce from. So I add it in the isiewu. So, and I said that this isiewu is very cold. Let me go and warm it in the microwave before I started preparing it, mixing everything together. So I went and put it in the microwave, and everything was so hot. I don't know what happened. When I added my oil, the oil melted instantly and became like a fried oil, red oil. I was looking forward to see that appearance, sauce and everything. It didn't make any sauce. No, it didn't make any sauce. It just looks like when you add your oil, you fry your oil and you turn everything together. That is what it was looking like. And it tastes good, but that account stuff that I wanted and the sauce, it wasn't there. So I now asked myself, what happened? What did I do wrong? Now because I was so watchful, I have my mind on what I'm doing, so I was able to find out what the problem was. So what the problem was is that it was hot. The meat was hot. So before when you are preparing your isiewu and you don't want to use account, this is what you do. First of all, after cutting everything, allow it to get very cold. Allow it to get cold. Then again, use the stock from the isiewu. Use the stock very cold too. So when you add the red oil in that isiewu, it's going to thicken up instead of to melt. It will thicken up and it will give you that sauce. You don't need another thickener, because that water alone is already thickened up, if you know what I'm talking about. Then the oil itself, it will thicken up and it will give you that account appearance, account sauce that you want. So that is how I prepare. I got rid of that problem. So another thing is this: have you ever asked yourself, maybe you are cooking a egusi and everything came out lumpy, like you have lumps of egusi in the soup, and this is not what you planned. Some people, when they want to cook only egusi soup, they can make like lumps and put it and do it. There's some culture that doesn't do it that way. So but this one is egusi and ogbono. You're mixing two of them together, and it came out like the ogbono. You will start seeing it like lumps like eggs, scrambled eggs. Yeah, it happens. Okay, we learn from our mistake. So this is what the problem is. So I learned this from when my grandmother died. One of my cousins, bigger cousins, she prepared egusi and ogbono. It's for the family. Now with the funeral, everything is over, so the family is just gathering, celebrating her, because her death is not. She lived a beautiful life, so we were celebrating her. So she did it, and everything was like lumps. we were seeing like so I was a teenager then, so I asked my mother what happened, why is it like this? And she said instead of adding the egusi first, she added the ogbono first. So you don't do that. You don't add ogbono first. You add egusi, and when it's well stirred, you stir it and mix everything up. When it's well mixed up and dissolves, then you can add your ogbono, and you will get what you want. You will get what I've done it several times, and I have learned from it, and so I know it's something that you will maybe be making such mistake. You will learn from all these things, because myself, I have learned from them. So another one is okpa. Not everybody knows okpa, but I lived in Enugu. I grew up in Enugu State, but we don't do okpa. It's in Kano people, that's their special delicacy. Okpa is from Kano people. That's the people that do okpa. So okpa is very delicious, well known everywhere right now in Nigeria mostly. People eat it, people love it. It's a beans. When you grind it, it's white in color. So what you do when preparing okpa is there's a way you prepare okpa. I prepared okpa. I lived with people that do it. I thought I know it. I went ahead. My mother bought it. So that's the first time we were preparing it in our house. We used to buy it. So she's a teacher. So teachers, they buy things in stock and they share it. So that is how she got it. And she said, "When you cook this," wow, I'm always the one cooking. So I of course I wanted to cook it. I showed them that I can cook okpa. So I carried all the ingredients I have in our house: crayfish, onions. I put like plenty, as if I'm cooking moi moi. You don't cook okpa the same way you are cooking moi moi. No, that is a mistake. So I carried everything and poured inside and cooked it the way I cook moi moi. And when it came out like a mess. It didn't look good. Nobody ate it. Everything like it was like a mashed moi moi. It didn't come out good. It's like some water. It's like something that water entered, but there wasn't any water. It was the way I prepared it. So look at what happened. So when they saw it, the people in my compound, when they saw it, they were like, "What did you do? You carried all the ingredients and then." I said, "See, they told me, see, look at how you prepare it." So because it's their delicacy, they know how to do it. One, you can add onions, but just a little, small onion quantity, maybe one bowl of head of onion, you cut it into two and use half. Then your fresh pepper, but crayfish little, everything little, because that okpa has it so that it will not overpower the okpa, the aroma of that okpa. So what you do is that you don't, when you put it in a bag, Santana bag that they use, or leaf that they use, you don't put it in a cold water and put everything. Maybe you keep your pot and you start adding everything together. After tying and doing everything, then you carry it and put it in a stove. No. What you do is that you allow the water for the okpa to be boiling. That is where my mistake started. You allow the ingredient is too much for it too. I didn't put the pot on the fire. I just did everything and I carried it. So the water should be boiling before you can transfer the okpa, the wrapped okpa. And so when you do it that way, you will have a perfect okpa. That is how it is done. I hope you're learning something from this. I know you might have heard some of it before, but these ones I decided to share it because here in my channel I don't only cook, I also guide people on how to do it so that you will get the right result. I've not done a what do you call it, meat pie before, but I will be doing it, and I know you are going to love it. I just decided to share this particular video. This is what has been coming in my mind. Share this. People, I do see people ask, why do this happen? What am I doing wrong? Why did this one go wrong? Why did this other one go wrong? So another thing is this: if you are cooking with ofa, and maybe you are living in abroad and you bought it in a tin, I think it's important that before you start, it's already processed and everything, just the sauce. So what I notice is that sometimes when I'm eating it, I feel like sand. So I was thinking, how am I going to get rid of this? How am I going to do? So that's how this idea came to me. So what I do before adding anything, I've already put it up, you can go and watch it. Before adding anything to the sauce, I first of all strain it. And when you do that, you will see if it's some of them, because they have their own companies that make them, you can see some have sand, because in the process of making up, I know it because I've watched my grandmas do it. They spread it on the bare floor, on the ground, with dirt, and even sometimes if the apple is not producing much oil, they add dust. Those dust, what it does is that it will go ahead and gather the oil and gather it like it will be like a thick paste, thick oil. So it will go ahead and gather those oil if the oil is not doing well when they are producing it. So in that process of doing that, you can get sand. It's possible to get sand. But look at what happens when they cook the oil. When they start cooking the oil, those sands, they go down, they sink down, and the oil is up. So that's why you don't get so much. That's why they are not afraid to add that dust, because they are not going to be getting dust. They are going to be getting, but the one they spread can catch other sands, tiny sands. So that is how it can go there. So if you're wondering why is it like this, this is a way you can get rid of that apple so that you'll be able to eat it. Nobody has to eat and be chewing something like sand. I hope I've answered. I think I'm missing some. I hope I've answered some of the questions you might be asking yourself. I hope I've answered them, and I hope it helps. Please, I want to hear what you have to say. Leave a comment in the comment area. Subscribe to my channel if you have not, and if there is any issue that you are facing that I've not addressed, you can let me know and I will answer it in the best of my knowledge. So that is it for today. Good night, good morning, God bless you all. Bye.